Okay, so I have my pinch pots scored and slipped, and now I'm going to push them together. And usually kids want my help for this part. It's really not as difficult as it looks, I guess. So you just kind of make sure that they're meeting, and hey, look how bad this looks right now. It looks bad. It's okay. So once you make sure that you have them all pushed together, use the back of your fingernail. See my fingernail? Look. Smooth that line out until you don't see it anymore. It doesn't have to be perfect, just do this. Trust me. Your fingernail works the best. And you can switch directions if you're like, oh, that's not gonna work. Usually want to smooth the bigger side out, oops, to the smaller side. So I'm using the back of my fingernail all the way around. And once I have that done, then you're going to take the wooden spoon again, make sure it's on the side that's curved out, and you're just going to gently tap it to get rid of that line altogether. And it will disappear. Like you shouldn't, I mean, eventually it should look like you have a big potato in your hand. And if you need to, you can smooth some more. You just have to be careful you don't push the sides in, which this is where a lot of kids end up restarting because they smush it together and it doesn't look like a potato. You really need that potato shape depending on what kind of animal you're making. It might need to be more round, or I mean, it might need to be more flat. It just depends. Okay, so this is my bird's body. It's kind of big, but that's okay. That's okay. So we kind of want, if you look back at my sketch, like again, it's pretty big, it's pretty large and in charge, but that's okay. So the first thing I think I'll do is I'll kind of cut the bottom because I need it to stand up. And right now, if I put it like this, it's just gonna fall over, right? So one thing you can do, depending on your animal, is, I mean, you might be able to just cut one side of your pinch pot off, but you do need to add a hole somewhere in it to let the air out. Even if it's like, I don't know, like you have to have a hole to let air out. And usually when you add a hole, so I'm just gonna cut a hole. When you add a hole, it makes it easier also to pinch some more. If you need to make one part thinner or one part longer, or like in this case, I need to add a head and then figure out how I'm gonna get it to stand up. So this is actually where I'm gonna attach the head to, I think. So I'm gonna make another pinch pot with less clay. I'm not sure how big it needs to be, but I'm just gonna start with less clay. So I'm gonna roll it into a ball. And then I'm gonna pinch. It's always easier to start with more clay than you think you need, because if you end up needing less, it's easy to cut it off. It's harder to add. Well, you can't add clay to it, you just start over. So before I pinch anymore, I'm gonna smooth this out. And again, you can do the same thing that I showed you in the first video. If you feel like it's too wide, you can smush like one side together, and then you just cut this part off and you just kind of make sure it's attached back together. And you can, like, when I actually made mine a little bit smaller before I attached them. So I did score and slip it where, just to make sure it was sealed. Oh, see my crack right there? So that's the area you want to make sure it's smoothed out. And if it doesn't want to smooth, then you got to score and slip it. So I might have to end up scoring and slip this back together. Let's see. Okay, so let's attach this See if we've got, see it's starting, I mean, it's not perfect, but it does start to look like a bird. So I'm going to, well, most of you might have an animal that has a neck, and in that case you would want to pinch it like this, and you might need to add a coil to create an actual neck. I mean, it just depends on what animal you're making. So I'm going to attach this.